on. I just.
I have 7 p.m. Welcome to the September 1st, 2020 Richmond Hill City Council meeting. We will begin with a roll call. Councilmember Ward.
Here.
Councilmember Cox. Councilmember Cox is joining us via telephone. Councilmember Ott.
Here.
And Councilmember Scholar.
Here.
We have full participation tonight. We'll begin with our invocation by Councilmember Steve Scholar and the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Ward.
Our gracious Heavenly Father, we ask that you bless us tonight as we do the work of the city, and that we do it honorably and trustingly. We ask that you bless the people that have come out to the meeting tonight, and we ask that you bless those who are serving us overseas, our first responders, those who make our lives possible. We ask that you guide us tonight and make us make right decisions that would please you and please the people of the city of Richmond Hill. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Please stand. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for being here tonight. Everyone is a special guest, but we have someone that everyone will recognize with us tonight, our Georgia Representative Ron Stevens. Thank you for being here. I often say Representative Ron Stevens is a friend of Richmond Hill, and we have a very good friend indeed. All right, Council, you have in your packet the minutes from our last meeting. Are there any, our last two meetings or a meeting and a workshop? Are there any questions or concerns for the minutes of August 4th, 2020? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion we approve the minutes.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Scholar. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Ott. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries. Next, the approval of the minutes of our workshop on August 18th, 2020. Are there any concerns? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Ward. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Ott. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
The motion carries. Administration, Dawn Green.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I have one item for disapproval this evening. It's the disapproval of a request by Lorena Valencia for an alcohol license to sell beer, wine, and liquor on premises consumption only at La Napolera 12, located at 160 Ford Avenue. We have done appropriate background checks and recommend approval.
Council, any questions to this?
Is this just a change in management?
Change in management again. Lately, there have been changes of managers around.
Council, any other questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion we approve.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Scholar. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Ward. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries.
Thank you.
Finance, Bob Whitmarsh.
I have for approval tonight the approval of June financials. Doing these in the workshop, but these numbers reflect the department's doing a good job in maintaining their budgets overall for the 6 months dealing with the COVID situation and other issues we had to contend with. So got good news last night. The second request has been approved by CARES Act funding, so that was good news to get. But all the funds are doing well, and we'll be getting into our good earnings revenue season the next month or two. So I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Council, any questions?
I've got a couple, Bob, for you. The streets, repairs and maintenance, I noticed we're over again.
It's going to be running close by year end, but we've done all of the road work that we were going to do on the repair work. It's pretty much been done.
Okay. So overall, the budget should be good, except for that
It'll be
one
real
line item?
close. I don't think we'll have very much of an overage. Looking at these trends now, it looks real good.
Okay, and then the other one that I found kind of odd is we're over on electricity in the general administration. Or is that under?
Hold on just a second. Get to that.
Electricity?
We may have to get back with you on that, Mark. I don't think we're prepared for that question, so he may have to get back with you on that one.
So Mark, will you please repeat the question?
We're over on the electricity by, it looks like 16,000.
The 15,000?
Yeah,
Let me find out why that is. It looks a little unusual, that item. I'll find out and get an
that's
answer
what
back
stuck
for you.
out to me,
It doesn't
too.
look right to me.
Thank
okay.
you.
I think that's, something's been charged there that maybe not should have been.
And I think that's it.
Council, any other questions? Is there a motion to approve the June financials?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Ward. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Ott. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Planning and zoning, Scott Allison.
Evening. As you know, City Council, you also serve as the Board of Zoning Appeals for items that require a variance. We have an agenda item for that, so we would need to open up a public hearing for that. After the public hearing, when people speak, either for or against or just providing detail, is when there will be question and answer, and it'll become an item for consideration after that.
Council, we are hereby in a public hearing.
Okay. We have a petition that has been filed with the City of Richmond Hill by Ron Elliott requesting a variance to Article 11, Section 11.3 of the Unified Development Ordinance on exterior finish color palette. The property is located at 8872 Ford Avenue within the Gateway Overlay District. The property is zoned C1 General Commercial. Okay, Council, you have within your packet the notice of public. You have a lot of things actually for the record submitted by the applicant and just from our application process. You have the notice of public hearing. You have the variance application where you see where the applicant has described their reasons for the variance and the hardships that they believe are present. And also some attachments in addition to those that were on the front page that you'll find then with Mr. Elliott's signature. You'll see imagery of the old building prior to repainting, imagery of the new after. And then on your next sheet in your packet, you will find the section from Section 11.5 regarding variances in the overlay district for your use. Again, for the record, you'll find the letter to Mr. Elliott along with some from the original planning and zoning packet application upon approval of the building. You will find the color chart, when its copies are made of that, you sometimes can lose a little bit, but you guys have seen that in the Unified Development Ordinance. And lastly, you'll find just Section 11 for reference. You'll see what they're asking for the variance from. I believe that is it. The applicant is here and I believe wishes to speak. And also, I failed to mention, we had an email come in late afternoon today from a Mr. James Magnus showing support of the application. I just wanted to give that to the mayor for the record. Gentleman couldn't be here. Not able to attend the meeting, so he sent it via email, and I wanted you guys to have that.
Okay. Would the applicant care to speak?
Yes, sir. I'm Ron Elliott. I'm the owner of Georgia Game Changers company complex there. One of the things that I wanted to, outside of knocking off over the hand sanitizer, I wanted to let everybody know that, long story short version, we had a truck back into our building and it destroyed the front end of the building. So I had a local contractor go out there and try to fix it. They put the colors the best they could, couldn't match everything else. So we decided to go ahead and repaint the whole building, which cost me a little over $22,000. And due to the fact that the building had, over the last almost 6 years, had faded so much, we decided to go a couple steps within the same cover. I mean, as far as the same cover palette, went up a couple steps in order to bring the color to what it is today. And I don't know if City Council you've had a chance to take a look at the building. I think that the building has been very, very well done. Norwood Construction did the building, and you know, I'm looking at the variance. As most of you know, I'm on the Planning and Zoning Commission. And one of the things that the Planning and Zoning Commission, when you look at the commission on that, first and foremost, we built the building prior to the new ODO. So it was done prior to the Planning and Ordinance Commission. We are right now in the overlays district, and we are looking at, as Scott may tell you, is that we're looking at changing the overlay district from Thunderbird to Camellia Street, which Camellia Street is right at the edge of my property. And once that we do that, I will no longer be in the overlay district. If you look at your ordinance, it says the granting of the variance will not cause substantial detriment to the public good. If you look at it, it looks like a great Georgia, coastal Georgia building. All I've done was I went up a couple shades on the green because it went to, from what I had originally over the last 5-6 years, it had faded so much that you could not see that from the roadway. The other part of the ordinance says that the proposed color material is unlikely to set a precedent. It has not set a precedent. All right. If you look at the building looks great. It is a coastal Georgia color. And all I've done was brought the color up a little bit. I'm sitting over 350 feet away from the roadway. So when you look at the building, now we're actually getting compliments from people because they could see the building where before they could not see the building. And I'm asking City Council to support this. I paid over $22,000 to have it repainted. The front part of it, I had a building or a truck actually hit into the building, which destroyed the front end of the building. And so we repainted the building. It did not match the rest of the building, so I decided to go ahead and have the whole building repainted so that it would maintain that uniformity across the board. So I have talked to the individuals that were within that 300-meter radius, and I don't know if they're here tonight, but several of the individuals that had there, they've had no problems with the color. The third part of this is that we are from Planning and Zoning. As you all know, that I'm on the Planning and Zoning Commission as well. We are looking at changing the planning and zoning for the overlay district from Thunderbird, where it is currently, to Thunderbird, or to Camellia Street, where is past my property. So there's a lot of individual variances on that. So if you look at the whole building, I think the building looks good. I have not had any individuals that have come forward saying that the building looked bad. So I asked the city council and mayor to look favorably upon this, because I think when you look at, and my packet, you should have I actually provided a prior and current, I don't know how many members of city council has actually looked at the building. You know? So I think the building looks great. It has provided a good coastal Georgia look, and especially if we go with the new proposal for changing the overlay district to Camellia Street from Thunderbird. But regardless of that, the building was built prior to us creating the overlay district, and so I ask favorable consideration from the city on that. Any questions that you may have?
Not yet, Ron.
Thank you, sir.
No questions during the public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to speak against this variance? Hearing none, the public hearing is now closed. We are back into city council session. At this point, we can now ask the applicant any question that we desire.
Mayor, I think there was some more to speak for.
Okay.
Ron said that.
Sir?
Didn't you say there was more to speak for it?
There are individuals here to speak in favor of, if needed be.
All right, sorry, Mayor. Just want to make sure.
Okay.
Mr. Elliott, I've got a question.
Not yet, Steve.
Oh.
You got to wait till it comes up as a motion.
Oh, sorry. My bad.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes, I certainly will. We are back in the public hearing. Is there anyone that wishes to speak for the variance? Thank you. If you'll please state your name.
Zachary Fitzgerald.
I mean, there.
Wait till you.
Yeah.
Zachary Fitzgerald. So want to appreciate you guys letting us come, voice our opinion. Just kind of want to talk about our store. How many people have been to our store? Okay, so you've been to a store in the mall? Yes, shoe store in the mall? Okay, so how would you compare our store to a store in the mall in terms of environment, energy, things like that?
Mr. Fitzgerald, we are forbidden by law from engaging in this.
No, I'm just going to make the
this
point.
is a little awkward.
So I apologize. So we are one of the top 50 running stores in America. There's over 5,500 specialty running stores in America, and we are one of the top 50 in America. And I think the biggest reason that we've been able to accomplish that is the way we do business. We enjoy our jobs. We actually love our jobs. When customers come in, it's an experience. We make people want to come back because we are upbeat, we're lively, we're professional, and we take care of our business. And to be blunt, I think the building matches our personality. It's bright, it's vibrant, it makes people want to come in, kind of like the way we are with our service level. We get someone through the door, they're going to come back. And I just think that it just is an appealing look. We've had so many people, I never knew you were here. I saw this green building, I researched it, and came in, and how did I know this isn't here? So, to me, it's just a color. And I don't think it affects anybody in a negative way. But I will say, since we've painted the building, it's done wonders for our business. And we give a lot back to the community. We do 3 races a year. Every race that we do, we give that money. Any proceeds that we make, those get put back into the community. And I just think if this is a way to keep people coming into our store, then that allows us to continue to put on these races, and that allows us to continue to contribute in a positive way to this community. That's it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Ma'am?
Hi, thank you for your time and allowing us to come here.
Your name, please.
My name is Angela Endicott.
Thank you.
I am a new resident to Georgia and also actually Richmond Hill. We moved here a little over a year ago. Actually from a much more dreary place, but anyway. I love Georgia, and when I moved here, I fell in love with this town. I love Richmond Hill. I love the people in it. I have felt right at home right away. And in fact, down here, it's beautiful. I run around town, like actually physically run, and I work at the store as well. But the reason I started working there is because of the energy and the person who owns it. He's an active member of this community and really a part. And we give back a huge amount to Richmond Hill. And in fact, in all my running around town, everywhere, the buildings are beautiful. So this idea of coastal Georgia, these bright colors. And I was just curious even while I was running around. So as I ran around town, I took snapshots of different buildings that were painted. And the greens that are out there, we are only 2 shades different. So I wanted to speak on behalf of Ron because honestly, really, of all my time being here, this is the first time that I've actually been put off by the actions of Richmond Hill. And moving around a lot with the military, I've had my complaints about places. Richmond Hill is the first place where this is literally the first time where I've been like, oh, okay, there's the waste of time. So, and I have also worked in government. I understand all those rules, but I really think that putting all this together, putting who this man is, how much he gives back into this community, he is an amazing man, and this business does a lot for everyone. And I work with the runs. I actually work with everyone out in public, right, doing the runs. I've had only positive comments. So I just wanted to speak because I really hope that we can see how absurd this is and that we have better things to do with our time, hopefully, and rule in favor of him so we can get on to the bigger, better things than the color of paint. So, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak for? Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, council members, my name is Dr. Joseph Deppenhart. I've been a Richmond Hill resident for about the last 11 years and can say I've known the Elliots for about the last 10 years. My wife and Mr. Elliott are associates from work in the past, and our children went to school together. Still friends to this day. And I can tell you that the Elliots do a lot to contribute to this community. And I understand the rules with the zoning and what we're trying to do here within Richmond Hill. But when you put it into the scope of the area that we're talking about, when we're talking about the western end of Ford Avenue, that building is the shining light in that end of this city. You're talking about an area that has steel buildings, older gas stations, older homes. I don't think in any way the shade of this building or his request for a variance takes away from what we're trying to do here in this city. You know, I'm a proud resident. I'm proud to be here. But I think, you know, not allowing this variance would be a grave injustice to Mr. Elliott and this community. Thank you.
Is there anyone else?
Hi, my name is Clayton Tillman. I'd just like to stand and say that I had the pleasure of getting to know the Elliots through the course of selling them the property as a broker. Over that period of time, I felt I had a really good feeling all along that it would be good for Richmond Hill. I was excited. We were chosen over Pooler. So that says something to me. They wanted to be here. They wanted a store here. I wish we weren't here, but we are. I understand your job as being the government. I'm asking that just some consideration be taken for something he didn't control, which was damage to the building that brought this about. So just like to share that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
My name is Roberta Deppenhart. I'm a registered nurse. My husband and I moved here a few years ago from Columbus, Ohio. We love Richmond Hill. Our son, who just spoke, convinced us to come here, and I'm so glad that he did. This is such a giving community. I found, like during the COVID on Facebook, when they said we need food, everyone lined up at JF Gregory to bring food. When we eat at Sunshine Cafe, there were policemen eating there. My husband and I offered to pay the bill. People had already picked up the bill for the policemen. This is a giving community. People respect each other. Ron Elliott is not only a friend, but my neighbor. When my podiatrist said I had plantar fasciitis, that's where I went. They made sure my tennis shoes, my flip-flops, everything. Ron gives a lot to the community, the neighborhood. He was on our board. I don't see anything wrong with the color of that building. He's such an asset to this community. I hope that you will allow it to continue as the building is.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Last call. Hearing none, we are out of the public hearing and back into our city council meeting. Planning Zoning Director Scott, Allison, if you will present the motion.
Okay, we have an item for consideration. It's the approval, disapproval of the petition filed with the City of Richmond Hill by Ron Elliott requesting a variance to Article 11, Section 11.3 of the Unified Development Ordinance on exterior finish color palette. The property is located at 8872 Ford Avenue within Gateway Overlay District. Property is zoned C1 General Commercial District.
Now, council, we can ask questions.
I have a question for the applicant, Mr. Elliott.
Sir.
First of all, anyone who knows me knows I'm pro-business, whether that's Memorial coming into the city or whether it's your business. I'm pro-business. Let me ask you one question. Before you painted that building, did you check with planning and zoning to see if that was an approved color?
Negative. And that was, as everybody knows, I'm on the Planning and Zoning Commission as well. And the reason I did not, it was within, when you look at the zoning requirements, it was within the color scheme that was listed. And when we first painted the part that was damaged by the truck that damaged everything, it did not match everything. So I went with a local construction company, Norwood Construction, and we decided to change the whole color scheme throughout, because over the last 5-6 years, that color had deteriorated, and you could not see the building because I sat over 300, 400 feet back from Ford Road, the actual roadway. And so Seth recommended that we went with I went 2 scales up on the same family of colors, and in order to do that. Being on the Planning and Zoning Commission myself, I did not, when you look at the ordinance, I did not feel like that it was required to go through there because I was staying with the same family of colors.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Council, are there any other questions?
I have some questions for Mr. Allison. Can you explain a little bit about what Mr. Elliott was talking about earlier regarding Thunderbird and Camellia, regarding the zoning? I quite don't understand that situation.
There's been some thought process on when we create the Ford Historic District to look at the boundaries of the Gateway Overlay District as well. It's very early in the process, very early, not even to the point where it would have been brought up to you guys at a workshop yet for your even consideration to include it in a revision to the UDO. But one of the things we have looked at is at the interchanges, 87 and 90 are our boundaries for the overlay districts proper.
And what do you mean by overlay districts?
So within the zoning districts, you have overlay districts that have additional layers. There's prescriptive measures that are placed on and some performance measures that are placed on. So the Ford overlay district is from US 17 to Publix. Anything that fronts on there, it prescribes some architectural features in keeping with some of the historic architecture in that area. The gateway comes in from basically the city limits on 17 and goes over to Harris Trail. And then it comes in from Thunderbird into 17. So those are your gateways into the city. They don't prescribe that you do A, B, C, and D, but there are certain performance measures that are included in those that make reference to some of the typical architecture that we have around here. Primarily, it's no use of metal buildings, some form of, as an accent, some clapboard siding, and then there's a color palette within whenever you do that, and that's in the actual ordinance. So you have an overlay on top of the area.
Okay. The other question I had for you is with the new, what do you call it? The UDO. Is there a grandfather situation for something like this, or if something gets repaired or improved upon, it has to follow the new UDO, doesn't it?
So the staff's interpretation of that and the way that we've applied it for other applicants, because we do have quite a few that come in to make changes to their buildings. You'll see in your packet on 11.3 where it's the overlay district section. There's the section just before it outlines, it's under letter C. Our interpretation is that it says any change of exterior color or material shall conform to the requirements of this article. So the way we have applied that has been whatever colors were approved for the building to begin with, if someone's going to repaint, it either goes back to what was approved originally or it has to conform with the overlay district based on that language. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's just the way that we've applied it. And we've talked to Mr. L about that. That's the variance that he's requesting is essentially to that, to the overlay sections 11.3 and the requirements of the gateway overlay.
Okay, so there's no grandfather in this situation then, correct?
Not based on our interpretation, just because it's specific to any change in material and because it is within the overlay now.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we'd either go back to what it was or meet the requirements of. So what the applicant's saying is it is going back to what it was. It's just a different shade, from what I heard.
Any other questions?
I have one for Mr. Elliott again. Sorry.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Elliott, you're on the planning and zoning as you've mentioned,
Yes, sir.
but you did not look up the ordinance to repaint. Is that correct?
That's correct. Just because of the fact that there was damage done and the fact that all I did was stay within the color scheme of the original ordinance that was provided.
Now, the $22,000 that you said that you spent to repair and paint, does that include the repairs that the truck did along with the paint?
It's strictly for the painting. The repairs were about $2,800, and I was only able to collect $2,400 or $2,500 from my insurance on that. So I had to eat the additional amount, and since the colors did not match, I chose to go ahead, because one of the things that I do in this community, and if you look around here, I wanted to maintain a good and good-looking building within the community. And so when they painted it, it did not match, it did not look correct, and Mr. Norwood was supposed to be here tonight. I don't know if Seth is here, but it did not match. And once they repaired it, it looked weird. So I decided to go ahead and take a loan out with Citizens Bank to pay the $22,000 plus to repaint the whole building in order to maintain that look of a uniformity across the board. So, you know, it did not look proper with having, because we could not match the paint once that truck had destroyed that part of the building.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Any other questions? I have one for Mr. Allison. How many colors are on the color palette? How many colors are available?
Off the top of my head, it's in your packet.
Isn't it like 50?
Eight rows of 7, so 56.
Yes. 56 colors in the color palette. Thank you. And Mr. Fitzgerald and Ms. Endicott, you are both employees of Mr. Elliott? Okay. Council, any other questions? I have none. Is there a motion to approve or disapprove of this petition?
I'll make a motion to approve based on the color is in the same family and close to the same as the original. I make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Ward. Is there a second? Is there a second? Hearing none, the motion fails. Variance is denied. City Council items, Planning Commission, Architectural Review Board, verbal report.
Yeah, I think we got to vote to deny if you're going to deny.
I'm sorry, vote to deny?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we need a vote to disapprove?
Well, somebody needs to make if no one's voting to approve, then someone needs to make a motion to disapprove.
I'll make a motion to disapprove the variance.
Motion to disapprove by Councilmember Scholar. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Ott. All in favor of the disapproval of the variance?
Aye.
Aye.
Councilmember Cox? And Councilmember Ward?
I disapprove of the,
Okay, so yes. All right, the motion to disapprove carries. Keeping us straight. Thank you, Ron. Ray?
Hey, Mayor, this is where you guys open back up to be city council items. We have first verbal report for the Planning Commission and Architecture Review Board. The Planning Commission met last Monday and held the public hearing for the item that you have as first reading tonight for the rezoning for Memorial Health University Medical Center and made a recommendation for approval. The Architecture Review Board met today and reviewed a sign for Way Station Shopping Center as well as an urgent care on Ford Avenue for St. Joseph's Candler for site plan and building elevations. Next, I have this is first reading. It's a first reading of the petition filed with the City of Richmond Hill by Savannah Health Services, LLC, doing business as Memorial Health University Medical Center, requesting to rezone 46.16 acres located at the intersection of Port Royal Road and Highway 144 with a map and parcel number 061055 from unincorporated Bryan County A5 Agricultural District to City of Richmond Hills Zone C1 General Commercial District. Okay, Council, you have a number of items in your packet, but most importantly, we have the unofficial minutes from the public hearing where Amanda in our office has taken detailed notes based on the recording. Those are for you to review. It'll give you a good transcript of what happened during the public hearing for your review in this first reading. I've also included the application as well as the petition for annexation, which you have seen before. And there are some very early conceptual plans included. This has not gone through any type of site plan review by planning commission or staff, besides just early conversations, some tweaking based on geometry and overall being able to meet the requirements of the C1 district, seeing if it would work. It was, and you'll see in the minutes, the site plan was probably the most highly talked about aspect of the property. The process that we're in right now, not to discount those comments, are actually very well received and taken into for the record, as you'll see in the minutes. But the process we're in right now is through the rezoning. And as we mentioned at the Planning Commission meeting, one of the things to consider is that it's rezoning the property C1, and not necessarily for the specific use. Yes, with an annexation, you usually get a little bit more detail on the specificity of what's to come, but it needs to be considered as if any use that is either permitted or conditional within the C1 district. So we have included those uses as well within your packet. The layers to this is first reading, really for you to digest it. If you have questions, obviously they're accepted by staff. But the meeting next month, it would be an item consideration. And then after that is when you would go through site plan, and there's many layers to the onion.
Council, as Mr. Allison noted, this is the first reading, so if you have any questions or concerns, please, in the next month, get with the appropriate staff to have your concerns.
When's the next planning and zoning meeting for this?
It won't go back to planning and zoning for the rezoning. So they held the public hearing, received comments from the public, had lengthy discussions with the applicant and the public. So the next time it goes before any board, it will go before you guys for approval or disapproval of the rezoning. From there is when it goes through a lengthy review process internally with staff before it gets back to Planning Commission for more details related to the site plan, the geometry, how it lays out, traffic impact analysis, the whole gamut as far as site planning.
So we have gone to a public hearing already with this?
It was
Okay.
last Monday.
Okay.
You'll see the minutes show who was in attendance.
Okay.
Council, any other questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Allison. City Manager Chris Lovell.
Yes, sir, Mayor. I have several items that we should be able to blow through them relatively quickly. I got to remember speaking to the microphone. The first one is approval, disapproval of the fire station project not to exceed $365,000 from SPLOST 7 funds. We've in your packet, you'll see that this project is broken up into site work, building, and miscellaneous. Site work approximately $95,000 to $98,000. The building's $188,000 to $191,000, and the miscellaneous is approximately $72,000. The reason we're asking for the not to exceed 365 is we believe there's still some value engineering that we can do to get the price down a little more. So that's the reason we're coming before you to ask to approve it this way. We will manage the contracts under those numbers, but you can see in your packet where all the multiple bids for each segment of this project.
Council, any questions?
I have some questions. I noticed on your notes here in the packet, it said that you had reached out to Blue Ink to negotiate to get within budget. Did you also do it with Platinum Paving and Preferred Site Construction?
I'll let Scott answer that. He was in.
Is that option open for these other two as well?
Typically, we negotiate with the lowest bidder if it's not within our budget, and the lowest bidder, the lowest responsible bidder, we get within our budget. We don't go through the second and third, because they were already significantly lower.
Okay, my concern is on the bid that I have here from Blue Ink is that that doesn't include the water lines, the sanitary sewer, and the erosion control for the notes. Is that what's included with the other two companies that bid?
Some of that would have been, there was, value engineering done the reducing the payment that over engineered. That got the majority of our pricing down, right, and then reducing some of the paving. By doing so, it reduces some of the stormwater, which reduces some of the erosion control needs. The water line and the sanitary will be put in by EOM, utilizing water and sewer funds, and they can do it via our in-house contracting firm. And that was significantly cheaper based on the required back and forth.
So are they going to, EOM going to have to work in conjunction with whoever?
What'll have to happen, honestly, the city, Randy, Brendan, myself, Chris, are essentially serving as general contractors, and there's so many different subcontractors and contractors for this particular project. You've got the modular building that you guys approved earlier, that's got you got site work that has to be done. You got a bay building that has to be erected, and it has to be built out. So there are many moving pieces, and we're gonna have that pre-construction meeting. If this is approved tonight for the not to exceed, the pre-construction meeting will likely be by the end of the week or first of next week. We'll put everybody together in phase and structure.
Okay. Mr. Lovell, I have a concern to bring to your attention with this amount of money that we're dealing with.
Okay.
The last SPLOS that I had before we did the fire state for the modular building, and this money that you're asking for us to approve tonight was $652,378. Was that still correct?
Well, that's assuming 11 million total in revenues based on $1 million+ reduction in because of the coronavirus, which, as you know, we have not seen happen yet.
Right. But my concern is with the current one where the SPLOS was at 12 million from the February one that I have here in front of me, that's going to reduce us down to $224,000 basically.
Yeah.
And that's got to last us until 2024.
Well, I think that fire station's already in that analysis you're looking at. If I don't know what you're looking at, Mark, but if we could have maybe. I have no idea what you're looking at from a budget standpoint. I don't know if you got the most current one or not, but
it still has the other firehouse in there right now for $2 million.
We've had several changes to that budget that you're looking at, or that working document. It's not truly a budget, it's a working document. So if you're looking at one that has $2 million still on it, I don't think the latest working document has the $2 million, does it, Scott? Correct.
Right. Okay. I was not aware that the $2 million for the fire station 3 for the permanent one in the other location where we have the land donated for us,
right,
was taken out of the SPLOS cycle here.
That's why we have the workshops, Mark. You could have asked that then, and we could have got that addressed before now.
I just assumed that we were still going forward with that. That's why I did not ask.
My mistake, then. My mistake. Hey, Scott, can you speak in the microphone? I think we're getting some questions on or Facebook. People can't hear. Sorry.
Okay. Sorry. Got to remember where I was.
Sorry.
That's okay. The Station 3 solution that we've come up with to accommodate the piece of equipment that you guys purchased in February, that's showing up, by the end of the year, what the expectations are in working with Brendan and his captains is that'll extend the time frame that we'll need Station 4 at that location on Great Ogeechee Parkway, closer to the traffic circle. He's still able to meet our ISO needs and respond within an appropriate manner to the Belfast area from this station. And what it does is it allows us to really deal with reality of growth at Belfast, as opposed to projections that we're not really seeing happening. So as opposed to having a state-of-the-art fire station built and nothing comes around it for a couple of years, we were able to utilize this and then jump on it, having the property, having some of the infrastructure in, we're able to jump on it when it's timely. Do note that it'll take a good 12, 18 months to put together plans for something like that. So we've had that discussion before. That doesn't mean staff won't be coming to you potentially during the end of this cycle or at the very beginning of the next cycle for an allocation of money to do the engineering and the architecture on it.
That's years down the road.
Yes.
Council, any other questions concerning this agenda item? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Scholar. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Ward. All in favor?
Aye.
Do we hear from Councilmember Cox? The motion carries.
All right. Mayor, the second item I have is approval, disapproval of the appointment of Tommy Brookshire to serve as a member of the Richmond Hill Ethics Committee for a 2-year term to expire in September of 2022. I've reached out to Mr. Brookshire. He is willing to do that again.
Council, any questions or concerns about naming Mr. Tommy Brookshire to serve as a member of the Richmond Hill Ethics Committee?
I asked this question on an email earlier. Is there any conflict of interest with Mr. Brookshire and his relative serving on the county commission?
No.
I wouldn't think so. Our ethics commission is for our council, not their commission. And Tommy Brookshire is Brad's father, so
How long has Mr. Brookshire been on the ethics committee?
6 years or so, I believe.
Council, any other questions? Is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Scholar. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Ward. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries.
Second one is approval, disapproval of the appointment of Christy Balbo to serve as a member of the Richmond Hill Ethics Committee for a 2-year term to expire in September 2022. Her and Mr. Brookshire came on at the same time.
Council, are there any questions regarding the appointment of Christy Carol Balbo to serve as a member of the Richmond Hill Ethics Committee?
I've reached out to her. She has not gotten back with me. If she does not want to do it again, we'll have to bring someone new. The way it reads is the first two appoint the third. Can she hear me? Okay.
Council, any other questions?
Mayor, can I ask a question of you then?
Yes.
Because Ms. Balboa hasn't responded yet, shouldn't we table this approval or disapproval until the next council meeting?
Chris, could you speak to how,
That's fine. I mean, we can push it back.
asking is it's fine, could you speak to the veracity of how much you tried to contact her? I mean, was it like, call me back if you don't want to be on it? Was
No, it was just, she's now working with her husband, and so I didn't have her number initially, so it's been back and forth a couple of weeks, so.
All right.
I mean, we can table it.
Councilman Rod, I would agree that we should table this.
Thank you, Mayor, I appreciate that.
Is there a motion to table this?
I'll make a motion to table the approval of disapproval of Mrs. Balboa at this time.
Motion made by Councilmember Ott. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Ward. All in favor of tabling this motion
Aye.
until next council meeting? Thank you.
Next item I have is approval, disapproval of the appointment of Patty Matthews to serve as a member of the Richmond Hill CVB.
Council, are there any questions or concerns with the appointment of Patty Matthews to serve as a member of the Richmond Hill Convention and Visitors Bureau? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Ward. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Ott. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries.
The next item I have is the approval, disapproval of Sean Harris to serve as a member of the Richmond Hill CVB.
Council, are there any questions or concerns with the appointment of Sean Harris to serve as a member of the Richmond Hill CVB? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion that we approve.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Scholar. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Ward. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
The last item I have, Mayor, has to do with the resolution for the MOU for Medline. We need to make sure we state the motion correctly when we're voting on this. The gist of the changes are there's been a delay in construction due to the coronavirus, and the abatements need to be pushed out to match up with the completion of construction. There's also a change in the investment from $78 million to $69 million, roughly. And the Development Authority is issuing one bond as opposed to two now. So that's really the gist of it. Anna Chafin, who's the CEO of the Development Authority, is here to answer any specific questions you may have.
What's the time frame we're looking at that it's being delayed?
I think it's in your packet, Mark. I'd have to look at it. Hang on.
There's like
It's
20
probably 12 months. 12 months, Anna?
Yes, the project was originally supposed to be complete by the end of this year, but now it will be the end of next year. But the good news is they have closed on the property and the general contractor's been selected, so work will be beginning soon.
Okay, thank you.
This is Anna Chafin, Director of the Bryan County Development Authority. Any other questions of Ms. Chafin?
Now, does that change their, the tax situation that they have by a year, basically, because they won't be there?
Yes, sir. So they wanted to get the full benefit of the beginning of the abatement. So next year, instead of the abatement starting with the originally agreed upon percentage, there'll be construction in progress because the building will be incomplete. So the abatement that was agreed to will pick up in 2022.
Okay.
Next year will not be taxed because it's construction in progress, but then starting in 2022, it will be the originally agreed upon schedule from that point forward.
Okay, good.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Council, any other questions?
Mayor, if you don't mind, I'd like to read the motion the way that Anna needs it read. So,
Okay. Just a minute. Let's make sure there are no other
I'm
questions.
sorry.
Thank you, Ms. Chafin.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Please continue.
I'm sorry. It needs to be read as a motion to approve, if you want to approve, the resolution presented related to the amended and restated MOU for Medline.
Council, there is the motion. Is there, or we need a motion to
I'll
that
make a
effect?
motion that we make the motion that Chris just said.
Perfect.
All right.
Thank you.
The motion is to approve the amended and restated MOU for Medline, MOU standing for Memorandum of Understanding. There was a motion made by Councilmember Scholar. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Cox. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anna, for coming.
Anna, thank you for the work you do for Richmond Hill.
Mayor, the last item I have, other than the closed session, is the approval for the resolution to declare certain equipment as surplus. We discussed this in the workshop as far as the tasers that we're working a deal out with Hinesville Police Department.
Council, are there any questions about the declaration of equipment as surplus? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Ward. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Ott. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries.
That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Next, we're going into, or let me do communications first, and then I'll come back to the executive session we're going into for legal matters.
Mayor, do you want to do public comment first, too?
Yes, we're going to do all that
Okay.
before we go to the
Thank you.
executive session. Communications due to COVID-19 restrictions. Obviously, there will be no physical gathering in remembrance of the September 11th tragedy, but a tribute video for September 11th will be posted on the city's Facebook page. Also, the city will be hosting a Treats for Eats event. This is in lieu of our Trunk or Treat. This is on Saturday, October 24th, from 1 to 4 p.m. in J.F. Gregory Park to gather food donations for Elios and Way Station food pantries. It will be a family-friendly and COVID-friendly Halloween event. Every costumed child bringing food donations will receive a treat bag filled with goodies from area businesses. And please see our website or Facebook page for more details. All right, public comments. Obviously, we welcome and encourage any and all public comments, and I would just like to remind those who are going to talk tonight of the established 5-minute limit. And in order of when we received their request to speak, we will begin with the Richmond Hill-Bryan County Chamber of Commerce. Please state your name.
Catherine Johnson, CEO of the Richmond Hill-Bryan County Chamber of Commerce. And before I get started, I'm going to give you each a copy of what we're going to discuss tonight. Okay, can you hear me better? Okay, good evening. I'm Catherine Johnson. First, I would like to invite y'all to our golf reception, which is going to be on September 24th for our sponsors and players only. Your ticket is included, so we hope that you can join us. Now, I do have a letter to present to you on behalf of our 2020 Richmond Hill-Bryan County Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. Sorry, I'm gonna have to breathe a little bit. All right, dear Mayor Carpenter and Richmond Hill City Council members, the mission of the Richmond Hill-Bryan County Chamber of Commerce, furthermore known as RHBC Chamber, is to promote a positive and pro-business environment in Richmond Hill and Bryan County. The RHBC Chamber Board of Directors strive to be recognized as community leaders in the promotion of business, economic, and community development, as well as public policy that balances economic prosperity with quality of life. We serve our members through advocacy, access to community leaders, connectivity, engagement, and education. It is for this reason that we disappointingly present this letter of concern regarding the Richmond Hill City Council meeting held on August 4th, 2020, and the actions of City Council in regard to a request for the annexation of property. As a board, it is our opinion that a member of City Council acted in an anti-new business fashion during the meeting previously referenced. This opinion is based on several issues. First, the meeting agenda clearly stated the vote at hand was annexation of private property. During this meeting, a council member stated, and I quote, "Not knowing what annexation is," end quote. This is unacceptable, as our businesses rely on our elected officials to understand processes and how these processes may affect our community and businesses prior to the request at hand during a formal city council meeting. Second, the type of questioning, in addition to the relevance of questioning in regard to the annexation. For example, questions from council included topics such as morality of the company, ethics of the company's history, and their pricing methods compared to existing area businesses. Also, the slanderous nature in which questioning proceeded was far from inviting to a private company looking to bring business to our community that would ultimately create high-paying jobs, provide taxes to take the burden off of our rooftops or residents, and provide additional healthcare service to our community. And last, the fact that council's questioning appeared to base land use decisioning upon ethics, business practices, or cost of services rather than certificate of need, which was obtained in this case. It is our opinion that the free market should dictate these needs rather than politics. As the voice of Richmond Hill and Bryan County's business community, it is our intent to ensure our city and council and county commissioners remain welcoming, therefore advancing our reputation as a great place to do business and bring business. The Richmond Hill Bryan County Chamber knows that business is the forefront of our community success, and we hope you will take these into consideration in future meetings and dealings with prospective businesses. Respectfully, the 2020 Richmond Hill Bryan County Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
Thank you.
Up next is Mr. Dave London.
Good evening, all. My name is David T. London, and I am a 17-year resident of Richmond Hill. And I stand here tonight at the September City Council meeting to go ahead and address the ongoing discussion of race in our nation and in our community. But as I do, I'm going to introduce a video that's getting ready to be played. And it just talks about what's been going on here in Richmond Hill and how positive the conversation has been. Richmond Hill is proud of the hundreds of people that participated in the June 1st peaceful protest, declaring that Black lives do indeed matter. And therefore, as I speak tonight, I'm going to have this video playing as a reminder of what our whole community is doing as active participants in this very important discussion on race. This was put together by the Falcon Group, but it just really represents a lot of what's been going on in Richmond Hill. And since the background is just music, we can go ahead and let the sound go down so I can be a good steward of time tonight. And I will continue as you guys get to watch. And again, that's just a representation of what's been going on here, and it's been pretty fantastic. So again, I'm here to represent so many people across our community. As John Donne so eloquently said, no man is an island entire of itself. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. So I'm not here on my behalf. I'm here on behalf of Richmond Hill and so many people in Richmond Hill. Standing to address the ongoing national and local discussion on systemic racism, standing to express our community's gratitude for how that conversation is progressing here in Richmond Hill. And here to ask three things of our mayor and council. The discussion on race is playing out in many ways across our nation. But here in Richmond Hill, our community's discussion is taking on one of the more positive approaches. It is undeniable that there are valid concerns being raised, and that those concerns are rooted in our history of slavery. It is undeniable that there are racial disparities in our nation, and that those same disparities are here in our local community. And it's undeniable that systemic racism is a problem that has not often been talked about so broadly until the murder of George Floyd on May 25th of this year. Again, Richmond Hill is proud of the hundreds of people that participated in the June 1st peaceful protest, declaring that Black lives do indeed matter. In fact, as I speak tonight, this video is playing as a reminder of what our community is doing as active participants in the discussion on race. The actions of our Richmond Hill community represent very positive steps toward recognizing and addressing the problems of systemic racism. And in all of this, I must admit that my biggest fear is that when we are done as a community, we will not make any meaningful change to address what's going on. Kudos to Mayor and Council for your 100% participation in the June 1st Richmond Hill peaceful protest, demonstrating that Black lives do indeed matter. Kudos to our mayor who insisted on speaking at the protest. Kudos to our local pastors who prayed over all that attended and prayed for the resolution of the painful truths of systemic racism. Kudos to the city of Richmond Hill and the NAACP of Bryan County, of which I am a proud and active member, for establishing the Cultural and Diversity Task Force on Race. Kudos to the Falcon Group, of which I am a proud and active member, and to the NAACP of Bryan County for sponsoring and participating in historical presentations about the local Black history, online forums about systemic racism in our community, and restoring local slave cemeteries. Kudos to F3, Compassion Christian Church, Richmond Hill United Methodist Church, the Falcon Group, and others for rallying around Gene Harris to restore the historic Zion Baptist Church. And kudos, maybe most of all, to the residents that somehow do not see any evidence of systemic racism, but care enough about others to remain engaged in the conversation. With all the positive things that are going on, it would be such a shame if we made no meaningful change to address systemic racism and the disparities in our community. It would be good. What would good look like? It would be good to make the families of color feel safer by having our police host town hall meetings to discuss local policing concerns. It would be good to address the disparities in our community. Those two things would be good. And we asked three things of mayor and council. Number one, as mentioned during the public comments at the July City Council meeting, we asked mayor and council to draft and approve a resolution around all of these issues, one that makes clear that Black lives do actually matter. There is not enough time for me to reiterate the resolution proposed in July, but it will be attached to my letter as a reference and a starting point. Our city makes resolutions about a great many things in this community. A lot of people don't recognize the importance of the issues that the five of you make resolutions about. But nonetheless, those are vital proclamations that show our community's concern, focus, and support for important matters. Is this not an important issue that deserves a resolution? Number two, mayor and council, please answer in writing the letter that accompanied my comments at the July City Council meeting. The community gives nothing but kudos for all the city and residents are doing on this important issue. And many concerns will be addressed by the NAACP Cultural and Diversity Task Force on Race, which got off to a strong start on August 3rd and will again meet on September 10th. Congratulations, Councilman Scholar, for being a co-chair of that committee. We really appreciate that. Those meetings are closed to the public for now, but the community will feel a lot more included if they were open door and open access meetings. And our continued conversation between the community and city council tonight and 2 months ago, that's public. So please reply to the July letter and tonight's letter in writing as part of the public conversation. Trying to talk fast, y'all, keeps me out of breath. Know what I'm saying? But I'm trying to keep these fast. And to that point, we want to commend you for your deep and ongoing examination of the freestanding emergency room that Memorial Hospital wants to build in Richmond Hill across from Publix. There is so much potential in this proposal, and we are glad that mayor and council are not just rubber stamping a business venture from a large corporation. You are asking tough questions to make sure our residents are protected, served with ethical and accountable medical care, protected from having to pay 2, 3, 10, or as much as 20 times more for medical services than we are paying now. And we want to make sure that taxpayer dollars are efficiently used. And we really must give special commendation to Councilman Mark Ott for courageously bringing to light so many potential concerns that our community should be looking into when it comes to the Memorial Hospital freestanding emergency room. That is what the people of Richmond Hill depend on the folks in these seats to do. Ask the tough questions that we would want answered. Again, thank you for setting an atmosphere and environment where open and positive dialogue on systemic racism can take place in Richmond Hill. And as you consider this letter, please respond in writing so all residents can hear and see what our leaders have to say. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Is there anything you guys want to say now?
Thank you, Mr. London.
All right, thank you.
And next is Dr. Karen Bowles Grant. All right.
Good evening. I don't come, will I hurt this with this alcohol?
Ma'am?
Can you hear me? And I won't
Yes.
even get up there. You can hear me?
Well, we need to make sure that the audience can hear you, Dr. Grant, so if you,
Okay. All right. Good evening. I come with not a lot of questions, but some thank yous. I want to thank you. I've been a resident of Richmond Hill most of my 65 years. A few years I moved away, but most of my years I've been here, and I've seen the change over the years. I applaud the council and the mayor for what he previously referred to, which was the Cultural Diversity Committee. I do serve on the Education Committee, and my subcommittee members have pushed me into the leadership role of that subcommittee. And as you all, some of you all know who know me, know that I have a long history in education as far as my employment is concerned. Most of my employment years was in administration. I don't know whether you all thought of it or not, but in my doctoral studies, they taught us something called Plan, Do, Check, Act. That's how you start a project like this Cultural Diversity Committee. We are in the planning stages now. So we are learning each other, and we're learning the process, okay? Once we get that done, and in that planning stage, you have to dig into the data, which is what we are doing. Our subcommittee has met twice, and we've shared some of the data with the two of you, but we're not finished yet. But we're taking a scientific approach to tackling these problems. Where did we get the three issues that we're dealing with? The NAACP, an organization that I feel very, very close to because of my lineage. You know, I'm the history buff, but I'm proud of where I came from as far as my family is concerned. My grandfather, David Bowles, was a leader of the NAACP in Bryan County during the Depression years up to the 60s. My father was a leader on the NAACP here in Bryan County. I remember as a child, some of you all are too young to remember him, but Bogan, Ronald Bogan, our congressman, would come by our house all the time to talk to Daddy. Why do you think he came to talk to him? Because he knew he was a mover and shaker in this part of Georgia, because he represented the 1st Congressional District, which Bryan County is a part of. Tom Taggart, W.W. Law, and our sheriff, Carlos Jones. So I know what the NAACP can do, and I'm glad that you turned this venture over to them because they're organized, and first of all, they're grounded in faith. It was started through faith. So I thank you for that opportunity. Right now, I wasn't going to say this, but I'm just referring to your comments. Right now, we're not ready for the public. At least I don't feel ready for the public with our subcommittee because we're broken off in the subcommittees, and we're doing the work right now. When we get to the point where we're ready to report out, maybe then, but right now I don't think so. Also, my second thanks comes to you all for, I don't know if you heard of the poem Dream Deferred by Langston Hughes. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? But the last line of it says, or does it explode? The dream that I'm speaking about is Bowles Park, which is being named for my grandfather and honoring my brother who was killed in Vietnam. This council, this mayor, has made my family happy. I see that the construction has started. I see equipment on the site now, and I just wanted to let you all know from the bottom of my heart, you know, I've been the spokesperson for my family, even though there are hundreds of us all over the country. I just wanted to come tonight to say publicly that I thank you.
thank you, Dr. Bowles. That concludes all the public comments that we had requests for.
Mayor?
No.
I would like to.
No,
officially-
you're out of order. Ron, you're out of order. Mr. Elliott?
A member of the.
You are out of order. I will have you
Planning and
removed.
Zoning, I want to officially resign my position tonight.
You are out of order. You're out of order, but you can write a letter to the mayor and council, and we will certainly take that into consideration.
I mean, just because you couldn't put put the information in. I am
Would you please remove Mr. Elliott from this building?
resigning as member of the Planning and Zoning. Got it.
Hearing no other business, we will now enter into executive session. All the business in the open session has been conducted. There will be no announcement after. Yes. All right, we will take official action then after that, if anyone wants to stick around for that. All right. Is there a motion to enter into executive session?
I'll make that motion.
I, Councilmember Robbie Ward, make the following motion to enter into a closed meeting of the City Council. That this mayor and council now enter into closed session as allowed by OCGA 50-14-4 and pursuant to advice by the city attorney for the purpose of discussing the following legal matters. That this body in open session adopt a resolution authorizing and directing the mayor or presiding officer to execute an affidavit in compliance with the OCGA 50-14-4, and that this body ratify the actions of the council taken in closed session and confirm that the subject matters of the closed session were within exceptions permitted by the open meetings law. Said resolution to be in the form as attached hereto.
That's made in the form of a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Ott. All in favor?
Aye.
We are in executive session. Thank you.